December 7th, 2019 was the day that the largest Japanese video game company released their most ambitious video game project to date. Smash Bros. Ultimate is to many another installment of a classic video game series, a brawl-type game where you choose from a selection of heroes or characters from other Nintendo games and series. When you choose your character, you battle on a two-dimensional platform and fight until one man is left standing. If you were like most people, you went online and retrieved your pre-ordered copy of the game. You either got this in store or digitally, or maybe you didn't pre-order the game and waited to buy it on the release date. You then most likely continued by spreading the excitement online to your interconnected web of friends with Discord, a gaming voice and text group chatting platform. But while the frenzy over the latest in Japanese culture to be released in America was going on, others are thinking of another significant event.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
Pearl Harbor was the first large attack on United States soil done by a foreign power. The surprise attack was done on September 7, 1941, in an attempt by Japan to weaken the United States Navy, so that they could not afford a major conflict in the Pacific with the Japanese Empire. The motivation for this attack was the securing of the Southern Resource Area, the name for the Dutch East Indies and Malaysian territories that they wanted to conquer, to increase their sphere of influence and to support their war efforts in their own conflict with China. During the Second Sino-Japanese War, one of the most heinous war crimes to ever be committed was to show the true face of the Japanese Empire and the cultures that spawned from the event. The Nanking Massacre, or the Rape of Nanking, occurred in the capital city of China at the time. It was a mass rape of women and children in the city, with Imperial Japanese troops raping every woman they could find. Often, each woman would be raped by multiple soldiers. Each would be killed afterwards and used as mass to fill holes for tanks to cross. The Japanese soldiers would stab infants with bayonets and dip them into boiling pots of water to kill them slowly, then dumping the bodies along with other corpses they had. They also had competitions to see who could rape the most women. Captured citizens would also be forced to kill each other by the soldiers, where they would be used as entertainment. Japanese culture makes it clear that shame brought forth by the actions of a person will be taken seriously in offending the ancestors of that individual. So why did they rape and kill the citizens of Nanking? The rapes were awful acts that would easily offend any ancestor, but then again, if the women are dead, they cannot tell anyone of what the soldier did. And for those who did survive, were subject to the same social consequences if they were to speak out against their attackers and talk about their trauma. They would be seen as weak, cowardly, and incompetent to allow such an act to be forced upon them, so most did not speak out. First-hand accounts of the crimes were reported by foreign ambassadors and tourists who were in the city on the day of the massacre. The most prominent being John Rabe, a high-ranking member of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party. He, along with many other Westerners who were in the city during the attack, were responsible for creating the Nanking Safety Zone, an area in Nanking where refugees wishing to escape persecution during the attack from the Japanese would reside. Though the zone was not exactly respected by the Japanese, because some refugees were Chinese war veterans and were targets to the imperial troops, this justification by the Japanese soldiers led to the violation of the Nanking Safety Zone often. Along the way, and even past Nanking, many similar massacres were committed, some ranging in even higher numbers than the ones in Nanking. The Japanese were brutal towards the Chinese. Estimates of the total number of deaths in the massacres of cities range from 1 million to 2 million people in Suzhou, Shanghai, Jiaxing, Hangzhou, Wuxi, Shaoxing, and Shangzhou. These still only scratch the surface of the towns and cities that were invaded by the Japanese. In total, the numbers of those killed are reported to be in the hundreds of thousands, ranging from 100,000 to 300,000 in Nanking alone. In many classrooms today, it is a debated issue to teach the youth of Japan about Nanking, many neglecting to do so, and others denying that the event happened altogether. Many of the Japanese youth today do not hold any strong views of the event, either because they do not care or they do not know about it, and many Japanese citizens deny the event as well. It is almost universally agreed upon that the atom bombs dropped on Japan were the only way that war with Japan could have ended without operating a land invasion which would have led to millions of more deaths on both sides. You can form a decently complex debate regarding the morality of bombing a city, but what you cannot claim about the bombs is that the bombs were punishment enough for Japan's war crimes. The bombs are not significantly more cruel than the traditional form of bombing cities, usually referred to as firebombing. Firebombing had been done many times before the nukes were dropped, and estimates of how many bombs clock in at 157,000 tons of firebombs. It is worth mentioning that in total an estimated 333,000 people died from the firebombing runs by Allied powers in Japan. If you were to make a claim that the nukes were significant because of the damage they caused to one city alone, I could easily point to the bombing of Tokyo, where the city was leveled to the same extent, and 120,000 Japanese citizens were killed, while in Nagasaki only 40,000 were killed and 80,000 in Hiroshima. It isn't as solid either to debate which is more cruel, as it is subjective whether people would prefer to die burning alive or from radiation burns, and even at that, half the deaths that occurred when the nukes were dropped happened on impact within the first day. The controversial history surrounding the two atom bombs dropped on either Hiroshima or Nagasaki, in fact, came from that era's uncertainty pertaining to the quickly evolving nuclear weapons program after the war, and subsequently, the nuclear arms race during the Cold War. The view of the damage of the bombs was not because of their cruelty during the war. It was a new technology, and with every technology introduced throughout history, there will be talk of it being used incorrectly. But of course, at the time, people reacted very similarly to the bombing of Tokyo as they did Hiroshima, besides celebration of the war ending. With that aside, the bombs cannot be classified as punishment for war crimes committed by Japan. Furthermore, they never paid any reparations for their war crimes, and many war criminals went on to hold political office. The positions in the Japanese government did not change after the Second World War, and the royal family, the emperor and his family, were immune to all trials in the Pacific Theater for war crimes. Even though Prince Asaka was the top commander during the invasion of Nanking and other similar massacres, to this day there is still an emperor in the royal bloodline in Japan.